and welcome to Mongolian Newsroom. I'm your host, Laura Cole. Today, we will be bringing you the stocks, the weather, and an exclusive interview with Genghis Khan himself. But first, a quick look back at how the Mongols got their start. Before the widely known Genghis Khan, there were many other Khans before him. Kublai Khan, Genghis Khan's great-grandfather, led the Mongol forces to victory over the Qing kingdom in North China. After he died, Genghis's father became the Khan. Unfortunately, his reign did not last long due to poisons, and young Genghis, known as Temujin at the time, was put into a position of power immediately. Temujin, like his father, didn't have much luck in leading in the beginning. In the many months following his new leadership, Temujin lost a lot of the followers his father had generated because they did not believe that a child would be fit to lead. As a result, he was easily attacked and held prisoner by a rival Mongolian tribe. The young Khan did escape, then started to gain footholds of power among the few tribes who remembered Temujin's father. This grew the young Khan's reputation as a warrior and military commander. And this, as we all know, brings him plenty of allies that were rather eager to attach themselves to a leader with a promising future. Within the next decades, Temujin had defeated the Mongolian groups that had opposed him, and ousted the troops sent by other nomadic peoples. Soon after, all the Mongol tribes got together for a Kurultai, a meeting of the Mongol chieftains, and they elected Temujin, the Khagan, the supreme ruler of the Mongolian tribes, and he renamed himself Chinggis or Genghis Khan. Chinggis ruled until he died, and then he passed the reign to his children, who did their fair share of good and bad for the Mongol kingdom, as we will see later. And now, on to Mark Munnington with the stocks.
Thanks, Laura. In today's economy news, sheep and goat prices are up 2%, now at 23 Togrog. In other news, wheat has dropped an astounding 30 Togrog due to large sums of wheat coming in from tribute season. These crops are coming in from Eastern Europe and from China. Back to you.
Thanks, Mark. And now to Jeffrey Taylor with an exclusive interview of Genghis Khan himself.
I'm here today with Genghis Khan, leader of the Mongolian Empire. So Genghis, let's start from the beginning. Can you tell us a bit about your early life?
Well, I was born with the name Temujin, into a clan fighting for survival.
Survival, how so?
Well, my grandfather, Kublai Khan, led a Mongolian alliance that fended off Qin China. When he died, the alliance fell apart and our enemies ran rampant. My father tried to build up a following, but was poisoned by my rivals. He had gathered a decent following, but none of these chieftains wanted to follow me, a mere boy at the time. So eventually, after attacks on my rather weak encampment, I was taken prisoner. But I made my escape and found refuge in the mountains with my family and the few followers that I had.
How then did you rise to such a position of power?
Being a wise, sensible leader, I made a decision to join a powerful chieftain and lay waste to those who attacked me. My reputation gained me much, and I was leading my allies abroad to defeat Mongol rivals and other nomads.
Fascinating, but I'm dying to know what happened at the Kurultai in year 1206.
One of my favorite days. This meeting of all Mongol chieftains. I was renamed to Genghis Khan, meaning universal lord, and I was elected Khangan, a supreme ruler of the Mongols. And with my strong leadership, we prepared our assault on the known world.
And to do so, you need quite a formidable war machine. Can you briefly describe it?
Something fierce it was. All Mongols are trained natural warriors, trained from youth to ride, hunt, fight. But our weapons, we had a variety, of course. Lances, hatchets, and iron maces. But our magnificent short bows, oh, that really made us shine.
Surely they were no better than the English longbows.
You're full nonsense. My Mongol warriors were accurate and almost double the distance of those puny, pathetic, worthless longbows, without even breaking the stride of our horses.
Would you mind telling me more about these horses I've heard so much about?
Our horses were the finest. Our armies were entirely cavalry, so we would travel enormous distances in short times. Our advances were almost enough to cause our enemies to surrender. They were so demoralizing. they made us even better warriors.
With such a large army, how did you ever manage to keep them in tip-top shape?
Loyalty to me, primarily. We directed a cooperative effort towards comfort and formidable instruction and tribute.
So bows and horses gave you guys an edge in conquest. Exactly how large was your influence in 1206?
I was leader of almost 1.5 million Mongols, and overlord of a couple of million other nomads, the largest empire in the world at the time. We weren't to be stopped.
But those terrifying cities, fortified with extensive defenses, how did you adapt to those, and where did that knowledge come from?
Nothing can stop the great Genghis Khan. I captured Chinese artisans and military commanders and forced them to help me build an arsenal of siege weapons. I had battering rams, catapults, and my favorite, bamboo rockets.
Interesting. What were your feelings towards these towns? Any punishments for them?
They were all soft. They dared stand against us. We were simply slaughtering all the inhabitants. Or sold them into slavery if they were lucky. And burned and sacked the towns. We would spare any famous scholars in other towns who surrendered without a fight.
I'm surprised you spared anybody.
Only if it was beneficial to our cause.
Of course. And with that, here's a short commercial break.
Hi, I'm John Green. This is Crash Course World History, and today we're going to discuss, wait for it, the Mongols. So you probably have a picture of the Mongols in your head. Yes, that's the picture. Brutal, bloodthirsty, swarthy, humorously mustachioed warriors riding the plains, wearing fur, eating meat directly off the bone, saying bar, 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 bar. In short, we imagine the Mongol Empire as stereotypically barbarian. And that's not entirely wrong. But if you've been reading recent world history textbooks like we here at Crash Course have, you might have a different view of the Mongols, one that emphasizes the amazing speed and success of their conquests, how they conquered more land in 25 years than the Romans did in 400, how they controlled more than 11 million contiguous square miles. And you may even have read that the Mongols basically created nations like Russia and even Korea. One historian has even claimed that the Mongols smashed the feudal system and created international law. Renowned for their religious tolerance, the Mongols, in this view, created the first great free trade zone, like a crazy medieval Eurasian NAFTA. And that's not entirely wrong either. Stupid truth, always resisting simplicity. So remember herders? We talked about them back in episode 1 as an alternative to hunting and gathering or agriculture. Here are the key things to remember. 1, nomads aren't Jack Kerouac. They don't go on like random road trips. They migrate according to climate conditions so they can feed their flocks. 2, nomads don't generally produce manufactured goods, which means they need to trade, so they almost always live near settled people. And 3, because they generally live close to nature and in harsh conditions, pastoralists tend to be tougher than diamond-plated differential calculus. Like think of the Huns or the Xiongnu. Or the Mongols. Okay, Stan, that's enough. Back to me. Come, Stan, I am the star of the show, not the Mongols! Hi, sorry about that. Right, so one last thing. Pastoral people also tend to be more egalitarian, especially where women are concerned. Paradoxically, when there's less to go around, humans tend to share more, and when both men and women must work for the social order to survive, there tends to be less patriarchal domination of women, although Mongol women rarely went to war. I can't tell your gender. I mean, you've got the pants, but then you also have the floopity flop, so... That's the technical term, by the way. I'm a historian. If you had to choose a pastoral nomadic group to come out of Central Asia and dominate the world, you probably wouldn't have chosen the Mongols, because for most of the history we've been discussing, they just hung out in the foothills bordering the Siberian forest, mixing, herding, and hunting, quietly getting really good at archery and riding horses. Also, the Mongols were much smaller than other pastoral groups like the Tatars or the Uyghurs. And not to get like all great man history on you or anything, but the reason the Mongols came to dominate the world really started with one guy, Genghis Khan. Let's go to the thought bubble. The story goes that Genghis, or Chinggis Khan, was born around 1162 with the name Temujin to a lowly clan. His father was poisoned to death, leaving Temujin under the control of his older brothers, one of whom he soon killed during an argument. By 19, he was married to his first and most important wife, Borte, who was later kidnapped. This was pretty common among the Mongols. Temujin's mom had also been kidnapped. In rescuing his wife, Temujin proved his military mettle, and he soon became a leader of his tribe, but uniting the Mongol confederations required a civil war, which he won, largely thanks to 2 innovations. First, he promoted people based on merit rather than family position, and second, he brought lower classes of conquered people into his own tribe while dispossessing the leaders of the conquered clans. Thus, he made peasants love him, The rich hated him, but they didn't matter anymore because they were no longer rich. With these two building block policies, Temujin was able to win the loyalty of more and more people, and in 1206 he was declared the Great Khan, the leader of all the Mongols. How? Well, the Mongols chose their rulers in a really cool way. A prospective ruler would call a general council called a kurultai, and anyone who supported his candidacy for leadership would show up on their horses, literally voting with their feet. Mr. Green, but horses don't have feet. They have hooves. I hate you, me from the past. Also, no interrupting the thought bubble. After uniting the Mongols, Genghis Khan went on to conquer a lot of territory. By the time he died in his sleep in 1227, his empire stretched from the Mongol homeland in Mongolia all the way to the Caspian Sea. Thanks, Thought Bubble. So that's a pretty good looking empire, and sure, a lot of it was pasture or mountains or desert, but the Mongols did conquer a lot of people too. And in some ways, with Genghis's death, the empire was just getting started. His son Ogadai Khan expanded the empire even more, and Genghis's grandson Mongke was the Great Khan in 1258 when Baghdad, the capital of the Abbasid Empire, fell to the Mongols. And another of Genghis's grandsons, Kublai Khan, conquered the Sung dynasty in China in 1279. And if the Mamluks hadn't stopped another of Genghis's grandsons at the Battle of Ain Jalut, they probably would have taken all of North Africa. Man, Genghis Khan sure had a lot of grandkids.